we're going to look at the concept of site modeling. Now, the first thing I think that we should cover is what is the site model. So what do we use it for? So the first thing is we can use it for visualization. One of the things I really use it for a lot is this height in relation to boundary, or recession planes. Being able to visualize in 3D how your building should fit in its site and in relation to the requirements of the local building authority. We can use it for cut and fill calculations, but the big thing, let's understand how a site model is made. That allow us to understand what we can expect from a site model and what we can't expect. So if we have a look, the idea is that we need some 3D data to create a site model. So the first thing is that we need to look at where's my chat gone? Where's chat? I've got no chat at the moment. I'm going to have to carry on because I don't know how to fix the chat. We've got a viewer. Thank you very much for coming. I'm not sure how to get the chat enabled. I thought I did everything the same as I did last week, but it doesn't appear that my live chat is going. I'll just check. No, I can't see how to figure that out. So I'm sorry, I can't answer your questions at the moment, but let's have a look at the concept. So the idea of the site model is we take some 3D data. In this case, I've just got a sketch with 3D loci. Let's zoom in so you can see it more easily. So the idea is that this 3D data has the 3D coordinates. Vectorworks then looks at this data and creates a 3D polygon that joins those three dots together, or the 3D data. This is known as a triangulated integrated network, because what it does, it looks at all the points and then it creates this network, and this is what creates your site model mesh. And the extent of the site model is limited by the 3D data that you give it. If you give it more data, then you should get better results within reason. If you're going to put in 1 million data points, or if you're going to use a site model, a cloud, if you're going to get your site scanned and get a point cloud, you end up with too much data. And Vectorworks is still going to do this, still going to do these triangles, but there's millions of them, and so it takes a while for it to calculate them. There's a limit to what you put in and what you can get out of a site model. Now, what Vectorworks expects is that between this 3D data and that 3D data is a straight line. And the way it calculates its contours is to say, well, if that's 10 feet and that's 20 feet, then 15 feet must be halfway along. And then it says that one's 10 feet and that one's 20 feet. So 15 feet must be halfway along that one. And then if this one was, for example, if that was 10 feet and that was 30 feet, well then halfway along it is going to be 20 feet. And so between that, so that's where 15 feet is. So you'll end up with a contour that goes from there to there and then comes to here. And so sometimes you end up with these very funny shaped contours, and it's really a result of how Vectorworks works through the mathematics of all these objects. So that's the background to the site modeling. Hey, if you want this manual, don't forget to become a member of my community. This manual is available there. So let's get into Vectorworks and we're going to have a look. So this is a 3D model I created. This is one of my site models. And you can see, once you've got your site model, it's really cool because you can see things like the site area. Now, the way I created the site area was I created something called a texture bed. And I applied a grass texture to that texture bed so that when we show this to the client can easily see where their site is relative to the other parts. Now, the other parts I really wanted as well because that gives me my context. I've got my houses around here. These are the surrounding buildings, and these surrounding buildings can be used to help generate solar studies, so I can see where's the best place to put my building. If these were much bigger, they'd be casting bigger shadows across my site. So in this particular case, you can see I've also got planting. If you create a site model, when you put your plants in, they will automatically stick or lift themselves to the surface of the site model. So there's nothing you need to do to this to make the plants sit on the site model. If you don't create a site model, you can't do this. So site models are useful for that as well. We can use them for cut and fill calculations. Now I've got one here, I think, which is ready to go. Let's have a look. I think I've got a site model here. And there's my site model. And this site model has cuts in it that represent parts of the building. So you can see I've got some depressions here. I have a building. I have some soft landscaping. I've got hard landscaping. And I've got some roading in here as well. There's a road in there. And so these areas are cut into the site. And that allows me to calculate how much cut, and I can do cut and fill calculations on my site model. If I update my cut and fill calculations, you'll see I've got cubic meters, cut volume, fill volume. There's a lot of cut here to get the site down for this project. So those are the concepts that we've got. First of all, we're going to make sure that we put in good information. We're going to make sure the information is okay.